Tuesday. And the therapist of the day is Joe Rich. Let's please welcome Joe Rich. You know, we're going to spend the hour, if we can, talking about the following subject, but if it changes into something else, that's fine. If you want to talk about relationships, that's fine too. But we're going to take it into a different level today, and that is how children view your relationship as a married couple, or you're living together, or you're a divorced couple. How your kids view you. Now, you argue and everything, and you know it's between the two of you, but you don't know what the child is thinking. That's very typical, isn't it? That the child, you don't think the child is around, or the child can hear or even soaks in what's happening. And I would guess fear would play into this big time, especially when an argument occurs. Correct?
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the keys is that kids often don't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, that they experience it, they hear it, they see it. Sometimes they don't hear it. In other words, it could be silence for a week, but that they don't say anything. And that kind of fear often translates to bedtime, where they're lying in bed afraid mom and dad are going to separate, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the fear underlying.
Whether you're together or you're not, it's still, it doesn't, the distance, or you know, what I'm saying is, if you're divorced or if you're not divorced, right, or what have you. But that's because maybe you're not given the format. You don't give your kids the time or the platform to talk about that, right, kind of stuff. Do you spend that time to say, listen, how do you guys view mom and dad? Do you do that, or do you just let it go?
Well, I think, it's hard to do when you're having the fight, because you're having the fight, so you're busy having the fight. You know, I mean, that's what your energy is being taken up with. So I'm fighting with you, and I'm either making my point or arguing or whatever it may be. I rarely, as a parent, could probably step out of it and say, gee, how are you kids experiencing this, or how are you feeling about mom and dad fighting?
But I don't mean when it occurs. I'm talking about, you know, at the dinner table. Right. You know, how are things? How are you feeling about this? Or is that just being just too Pollyanna of me?
I don't think people do that.
No.
I don't think people say, well, kids, you know, here's the state of the marriage and how things are going.
No, that's not
it's
what
hard
I mean.
to...
Yeah. I mean, do you take the time to say to your kids, you know what, I always ask how you're doing. How do you think we as a family are doing?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
As a family rather than how mom and dad are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's too Pollyanna. I think people do that. And I think, you know, the direction of parenting often makes it just keep moving back and forth, instead of asking the kids how they see the whole family.
Yeah.
So kids either talk about how they see their own experience in the family, or you tell them things, but you rarely open it up. I mean, the forum is an interesting word, where you just open it up and everybody can have their say, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we're afraid to do that too.
Oh, sure, because, you know, truth comes just out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah, I mean, now that you've asked.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny to think about maybe how you, as an adult, viewed your parents' marriage.
Like, what if your parents had said at the dinner table, so, how does everybody think the family's going?
My father does that.
And?
Do you think we brought you up the way that you should have been brought up?
I think that's
Is there something that we've ever did? And I went, are we going to open this up? Or are we going to... I said, you just want to hear the good stuff? Yes, an adult. No, he does. He does. Could there have been something better that we could have done? Oh, yeah, we talk about it.
Right.
Not very often, but I think it's also to say, gee, I hope we did a good job, and can you let us know that we did a good job? And truly, is there something that we did that you would change? And seriously, if there was something that you changed with your child or your children, and we talk about it. Not very often, because that's kind of a sensitive subject, because you've got to be full of self-esteem and ready to take anything when you open up that can of worms. But it is interesting. I don't know if people, adults who are parents, take the time to really think about how their parents brought them up, and if so, it's always the bad stuff, because they go, I'm never going to do that, I'm never going to do this. A lot of the times it's the bad stuff. To take a look at the whole picture. I think too that when kids see arguing, even to this day, if I see my parents argue, I get this thing in my stomach. Yeah. And it must have been much bigger when I was a little person. And arguing is fine to have. You should be able to argue. But it was the fear of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is the family going to break apart? And what's going to happen to me? Because they're very, very, me, myself, and I, little ones. And I think that carries through. Do you find that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know.
I mean, adults who hear their parents fight as when they're adults feel it very similar. I mean, I think you're better able to manage it, so it doesn't grow to all these fears. But that initial sort of tension, that gut feeling, still exists for adults. These are your parents.
You turn into a 12-year-old person again and going, oh my gosh, I'm full of fear. When you and your mate do argue, and it is heard probably by the next door neighbors as well, gee, that never happens, and then you go, damn, I left that bathroom window open. I didn't mean to do that. Oh well. Anyway, do you after you have this argument and hopefully you put closure on it? Who knows if you do or not? Should you, Joe, go and talk to the kids to calm their fears? Because I think they get lost in the shuffle. Because you are thinking one-on-one, I am so mad at you, Joe, and I'm not thinking about the kids, and because the kids don't speak up, should we make that extra effort, like being a coach of a team, saying, look, you know, the managerial staff is falling apart a little bit here, but I just want you to know that we're everything is fine, and then take that to another point, saying, well, why did you and Daddy fight? Do you and Daddy not love each other anymore? Are you, Mommy?
We have to begin answering those questions.
Yes.
That's the part I think that's scary for people, is that if you go to the kids and start talking to them about it, then you might open something up, create sort of a space, and they might fill it with some very important, difficult questions. But, you know, I think there's the myth that, you know, your father and I never argued while the kids were around. You know, so you're in the kitchen and the kids are in the living room and you're screaming and yelling at each other, and you can fool yourself that the kids aren't around. Or we never said anything till the kids went to bed. You know, and I mean, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, but we never said anything till the kids went to bed. I mean, there's a sort of false reality to it that the kids didn't hear anything or the kids didn't know. And of course, the kids know everything, and the kids hear everything.
They can feel the tension.
Yeah, they feel the tension. They hear the yelling. They see it. You know, they get it in every possible way.
Sure.
So I think one of the reasons that people don't follow up their own adult argument by talking with the kids is they fool themselves that the kids, that didn't mean anything to them or it had nothing to do with them. You actually talk yourself into that we had a fight when they went upstairs to bed, so we didn't fight in front of the children. So then we're not responsible to follow up fighting in front of the children because we didn't fight in front of them.
And even
sort of talk yourself out of it.
Even if you lived in a mansion. Anybody live in a mansion? Nah, I didn't think so. Even if you lived in a mansion and stuff like that, you know, there's no pride taken into the fact when I hear parents say, well, we never argued in front of the children. That's not teaching. You have to learn how to fight a little bit.
That's not reality. I don't think that's possible. I mean, I challenge someone to phone in and talk about we never argued in front of the children.
Yeah, that's not something to be proud of.
Yeah, but did we not talk in front of the children for a week at a time? Yes. But we never argued in front of the children. Yeah. So we may not have raised our voice, but we did have an argument in front of the children because it's in their family. So, you know, we underestimate how much kids pick up and know about when mom and dad are fighting.
At a very young age,
At a very young age.
Candy's on the phone for us. Hello there.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that you spelled my name wrong first. It's I-A, not Y-A.
Give me that right now.
It's no big deal.
Well, it seems to be a big deal. There seems to be an issue with you. Kathy, go sit on the stairs and think about it for 5 minutes. All right, go ahead.
Anyway.
Dang mirrors, you know?
My ex-husband and I got married very young.
Yeah.
We have 2 children. We've been divorced for probably a year or so, but separated for almost 4 years.
I'm sorry, how old are the kids?
I have 2 daughters, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Okay.
And they were originally living with me, and I went through a lot of problems just being a young woman.
Okay.
And the children are now living with their dad. They have been for a year and a half. He's getting married to a woman who has 2 children the same age, and we all get along really, really well. I have a very open custody arrangement. I can see my children whenever I want.
Oh, that's great.
And I mean, they know, they feel very lucky. They have 2 homes. Like I really talk to them. And
I was going to say, how did you present that to them, though?
That they have 2 homes, or that we were...
Well, that it's workable. That even though you're divorced, Daddy and Mommy are still going to have disagreements, but we're still working it out.
I think it brings me to think about a time when my older daughter, who's very mature for a 7-year-old, was crying to me one day and said to me she didn't know if she wanted to live with me or with Daddy. And at this point, she was living with her dad already, and I kind of just hugged her and said to her, you know what? You don't need to worry about that. We both love you very, very much. My boyfriend loves her. Her stepmom loves her. And that she doesn't need to worry about that because that's adult decisions. That's decisions that we've made. And we've made them because we think it's what's best for them. And I've explained it in detail as far as financial things go, and that, you know, mommy has some health problems and stuff like that that they know about. And
so that you're a united front and they're working together to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, like, his fiance and I spent Mother's Day together with her 2 children and my 2 children.
That's great.
And my...
That's great if it works for you. As you know, it doesn't work for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
No.
A little too close for some of us.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't go...
That's really great if that works out that well.
We wouldn't go
I
for
think your
years
honesty
together.
with the kids without... It's age appropriate. Right. And that they feel safe. And that's, I guess, what the key comment was there. That they feel safe, whether it's a divorce situation or a marital situation where you have an argument, which you should have anyway. Feeling safe, making sure the kids feel safe. Yeah. We're going to take a break. We'll talk more about this when we return, if I can speak.
If you wear contact lenses, pay attention to this. PuraLens is a revolutionary breakthrough in contact lens care. It's a device that cleans your lenses by a unique subsonic process and disinfects them by a germicidal light in just 15 minutes, completely hassle-free. It's a hands-free process, and there are no harsh chemicals used, providing fresh lens comfort every day. PuraLens is very effective and very affordable. You must try it. Ask your eye care practitioner for a 2-week free trial or call PuraLens at 1-800-387-3301.
Guess what? Go to Eaton's, buy 6 back-to-school things for kids, and you'll get the lowest priced one free.
Tell me what room you're in. Tell me just where you've been. The first day back at school. Eaton, we wanna be your store. Who'd you get this year? Come on and meet me here. Eaton.
5 will get you 6 till September 10th.
Hey, you know what they're doing in there? It's great. Red Lobster's got this enormous shrimp platter. You get to mix and match 30 shrimp. Imagine 30 shrimp in whatever combination you choose. You don't want to miss this. Try savory grilled shrimp or crispy fried shrimp, sizzling garlic shrimp, or even tangy lemon pepper. Mix and match 30 shrimp into the combination you love best. So hurry, it ends soon. I can hardly wait to come back to Red Lobster and do it again.
McCain has tasty pizza snack. They call them pizza pockets. McCain! Pizza pockets. The great pizza taste to keep you coming back. McCain! Pizza pockets. Pizza perfection in a crust that's baked, not fried. So there's no leaks, no mess. Just taste. All taste and nothing but McCain! Pizza pockets. No leaks, no mess. Just pizza perfection.
Welcome back. Well, Joe's got a comment on the last phone call.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Tanya did, I shouldn't mention, but she was implying she did was provide information to the kids. This is that we both love you. These are adult decisions. Mommy has some illnesses that affect what's going on. And one of the things that helps kids with that sense of fear is not necessarily making up a story, but giving them real information, helping them understand what's going on at different points along the way.
Yeah.
So the information that you give kids at troubled times can be really helpful, including the information that it's okay to fight. I mean, sometimes kids think, you know, you tell them, don't fight with your brother, don't fight with your brother, don't fight with your brother, and then you're fighting, so they get this sense that all this not okay stuff is going on, and sometimes they just need information. We're fighting because of this, or this is what we're fighting about, or stuff to give them a base. Because you go upstairs and it's dark and the lights are out and you're going to sleep and you just start to dream up all this stuff and it gets scarier and scarier and scarier. And sometimes information from a parent, good or bad,
and
but
not
information...
it's got to be age appropriate.
Yeah, it's got to... Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think that even what she said to us was appropriate in terms of how much information you offer.
Right.
This is a decision Mommy and Daddy make, and that right away, kids start to draw lines in it and figure out what's going on a little bit. I think that was a nice part of what she was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephanie, hello.
Stephanie.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes, we can.
Okay, my phone's messed up.
That's okay. I'm going to spell your name now. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay, basically I've been in a relationship for about 6 years now, and I had a baby at a very young age. I was 16, and I'm still with my son's father and everything. And my son will be 4 this year, and my son is very smart. Let me just tell you that first off. He's very smart, very intellectual. He knows everything what's going on in this world. He'll even watch the news. Anyway, my fiance and I, we constantly argue, and I'm a very calm and relaxed person. I don't like to argue. I don't even like to get upset about anything. But my fiance will fight about anything and anywhere, in front of my son, in front of my family, anywhere.
He picks a fight.
He does.
Yeah, why? Do you know why he does that?
Stupid things like laundry isn't done or the bed isn't made, like really stupid, irritating things that these things could be done, you know, an hour from that time. But no, he wants everything done right then, right now. You know what I mean? And then later on in the night, my son will come up to me and say, "Mommy, I don't like being here. Let's go run away. Let's take the car and leave Daddy." And my son's not scared of his own well-being. He's afraid of me. He's very worried about me.
Let me get this right, Stephanie. That your son's father is your fiance?
That's right.
Okay. And can I ask you, yeah, do you want to stay in this relationship?
Maybe for the wrong reasons, as far as security is concerned. Financially, I'd have no problem. But, see, my fiancé caught me at a very young age. I was 14 years old. And at that point, I was thinking, wow, an older guy, a car, a stereo.
How much older?
9 years. He'll be 29, I'll be 20. And just the whole thing about an older guy and everything, just, you know.
Is there any abuse?
No.
No physical abuse?
No. And if there was, I'd be out of there.
Do you, though, what you're living in, though, do you feel like you're always walking on eggshells around him?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really glad that you called.
Yeah.
Really glad that you called. Sometimes out of the mouth of babes, too, sometimes that they want... Do you feel like you want to get up and run away, too, I would guess, huh?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Joe's here, so we'll go from there.
You know, one of the questions, the first question I'll ask Stephanie is this relationship the same now as it was when you were 16? I mean, are you still 16 years old in a relationship with a guy who's 9 years older? Or are
I
you
would
at 20?
have to say, okay,
You know what I mean by that? I don't mean are you 16, but I mean, is this exactly the same as it was when you were 16 years old?
no, I think our relationship made a complete turnaround once we bought a house and we started living together.
Oh, okay.
And at 16, I had my baby. I couldn't really have much of a social life. I didn't go out a lot. But now that I want to do the things that I missed, he feels threatened, and I really feel that I live with my father rather than my fiancé. You know?
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking this question, I'm asking you to look at this, is because it sounds, to me, it sounds like there's sort of another transition or another step in this relationship that's kind of two adults pulling it together. And you're stuck at, he's 9 years older, but you're 20 now and you're not 14. You know what I mean? Like the 9 years, the transition for many people of the 9 years goes from being this huge to this huge to this huge to, oh yeah, he's 9 years older. I mean, sooner or later it stops. You know, when you're 30 and he's 39, this should not be this big, huge age gap anymore. The normal sort of transition is that the age difference makes less and less of a difference in the relationship. And this is why I'm asking, because it sounds to me like there's a next step in the relationship for the 20-year-old woman or the 21-year-old woman to be making in terms of her relationship and a long-term relationship. And I would challenge this the way you say. You know, I had a baby, I was 16 years old, now I'm 20, now I got a son that sees the relationship, we have a house. You know, it sounds to me like you're sort of stuck at a point, both of you, that you could move forward from, you know? And if you try to do that, it might be more hopeful for Stephanie. It might be more hopeful for you to start to define how the relationship would be. Whereas at 16, you might just think he knows everything about relationship. At 20 or 21, you might find out you know a little bit more about relationship than you thought.
Yeah.
And your 4-year-old might know a little bit more about relationship than we thought. So it's time now to bring all that information together and say, you know, where could we go? Where's our next step? Instead of saying this isn't right, to look at it in a historical context, that it goes from 14 to 16 to having a baby to having a house to what is next. And Stephanie's talking already about what she's ready for. Friends and going out and being part of the world again, and some changes in the relationship. It doesn't have to be outside the relationship, you know.
And if you can't do it on your own, that's when you,
it's
just
time
a family,
to say, yeah, we don't want it to be like this forever. Let's get some help.
Yeah.
The fact that there is no abuse in the relationship is an important variable as well.
Yeah.
This is not an abusive relationship. It's one which might be subject to change, which would be great.
Very good. Thanks for calling. We're going to take another break. We'll be right back.
Great.
There's nothing sadder than whole, fresh vegetables that rot or dry out before you can enjoy them. But a breakthrough from Ziploc gives you a happier alternative. Ziploc vegetable bags have microscopic freshness vents that let just the right amount of moisture escape, so whole vegetables stay fresher a whole lot longer. Ziploc vegetable bags with freshness vents. Maximum freshness for maximum time.
Everybody needs some money sometime. Everybody needs some cash somehow.
When you need money fast,
Hello, Mom.
count on Western Union. We send more money in minutes to more people in Canada and around the world than anyone else.
Just told me my sometime is now.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money worldwide. Call us for a location nearest you.
How far do you have to go for great tasting water? As far as your faucet. The Brita water filtration pitcher has the special Brita filter that reduces chlorine taste and lead, the things that nature never intended. And the taste? Wonderful. Brita, water the way nature intended.
So you claimed $84,000 in entertainment expenses?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any receipts to back this up?
No, I don't.
Well, what's in the bag, then?
Tostitos chips and salsa? People really love them. And every time I opened a bag, I mean, one thing...
New Tostitos tortilla chips are so deliciously perfect with Tostitos salsa. Next thing you know, it's a party.
I smell refund.
Really?
No, not really.
You got Tostitos, you got a party.
Welcome back. Okay, we've got Carmen on the phone. Hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm calling up. I'm with a man who's been married. He was married for 15 years.
Yes.
He divorced 3 years ago. He has 3 children, 5, 9, and 12. And the mother seems to use the children against my boyfriend. And it's very hard. I guess the children are very confused. They argue all the time when they do talk. A couple months ago, we went up to pick the children up to have them for a weekend. And she got really angry that I was there on the property and actually screamed and yelled at me and threw me off the property. And the children were crying, and they were standing with me and Larry and trying to tell their mother that it should be okay to have me there because she has her boyfriend over and stays over at the house. So, you know, we don't know what to say to the kids, how to calm them down or how to reassure them. And actually, the middle child would like to come and live with Larry and I. And we can't have her. We can't financially support children at this point in time.
Well, what's the other thing is the legal side with the custody agreement was 2, correct?
Yes.
And what is the custody agreement?
Well, she has the children.
Full custody.
Yeah.
And there's no promising to the child, well, maybe if we can get more money. That's great. That's great.
It's not. I don't think that we should ever promise them that. Yeah.
No, because that pulls the kids too in another direction, which isn't fair. It's really too bad that they have to witness all of this because they're not the issue. Unfortunately, it's the relationship, and this lady hasn't kind of finished up with what was going on. So that's really tough to step into. I'm going to say something, and then you tell me if that's such a great idea or not, okay? And that is maybe Carmen, it's not like you're not here because I know you are.
Yeah.
Carmen shouldn't go anymore to pick up the kids for a while. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
I think it's a good concrete solution to the children's problem. And I think we have to look at what are the children's problems, like what problems are the children experiencing first.
Yeah.
You know, that has to be sort of in the best interest of the child. We hear that all the time. And in the best interest of the children, Carmen should not be on the ex-wife's property. Unfair as that may be, and you could be a very reasonable, very nice person, your presence making the transition from their mothers to their fathers horrendous. And she might be the most unreasonable woman in the world, but she is the children's mother, and he would like to see the children. And I can't imagine what a visit would be like as you sort of leave that property, what happens to those visits. And I think we have to set some priorities. And there are a lot of couples, I have to be honest with you, a lot of couples that come up with this concrete solution. And the new partner, Carmen, for example, in your case, you know, has a coffee at the coffee shop for the 20 minutes, and Dad goes in and picks up the kids and then picks up Carmen at the coffee shop, and they go off and have a perfectly reasonable, fun, wonderful time, and there's nothing that affects the transition, and the kids just kind of do their usual adjustment, and that's it. And if mother makes a few cracks, everybody ignores them because there's nothing to fan the flames. I don't know why this woman this many years later is still this angry, but she is. So when Carmen says she should be able to, well, in the best of all possible worlds, she would. But
this isn't it.
These are concrete problems with concrete solutions. You know, they really are. So when you suggest that, I think it's a good practical solution with the children's interests. You know, and it's very hard to do. I feel for Carmen. This is very difficult to do.
Because you're willing to talk and be, you know, calm about it.
And you don't want to be invisible.
No.
You know, you don't want to be the invisible partner.
That's
you know,
right.
you want to be a person who is appreciated and civil. And I mean, there are things that Carmen wants that are very reasonable, but she's not getting them, and the kids' visits are really being affected. And also have to include, if I may, bring Larry into the circle, you know, the gentleman that she speaks of, because he would be in the awful position of saying, Carmen, can I drop you maybe like at a coffee shop? And this could really be a huge argument for the two of them. And he also may have trouble putting sort of his relationship with Carmen next to his relationship with the kids, next to his relationship to his ex-wife. And this could be seen as giving in to your ex or whatever it may be. So, you know, I think of this as a complication for the kids, Larry, Carmen, and maybe the ex-wife, but I have to put the kids' complication, you know, the kids' problem first.
And then, so saying to Larry, I'm going to make it comfortable for the next time. So why don't we do this? Let's try this.
Yeah, we don't need to do this. So if the suggestion comes from Carmen, it's a great idea. If it comes from Larry, it could mean a million things that are just really awful for Carmen and Larry to figure out.
I'm glad that you called. That's very common, unfortunately. Sean, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Go ahead.
I've got a 16-month-old daughter, and my wife and me seem to do a lot of fighting. And I'm wondering about the implications on her, on the daughter herself, what the problems are gonna, you know, what's gonna happen with her.
Okay, where is the daughter live? Are you together?
Yeah, we're together.
Okay, and she's, I'm sorry, your phone line's not that clear. Are you arguing a lot with her? Or she's arguing a lot with you, or?
Both.
Both.
I'm gonna switch over phones here.
I'm sorry? Switch phones.
Sorry about that.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's much better. I think Time Magazine is a great magazine, but they've got terrible phones. Okay. So anyway, so you guys argue a lot, and the baby's 16 months old and everything like that, and.
Yeah, we've been married for 5 years. Come this September.
Did you argue a lot before you had the baby?
We used to argue, but it's never been like it is now.
Right.
I'm the only one who's home, so I watch the daughter full time.
And mom's out there working.
Mom's out there working.
Would she prefer to be at home with the baby?
I guess she's just worried. She has another daughter, and she missed out with all the younger years with the daughter.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm here, and I'm seeing all this stuff that the daughter's doing, and I can understand the frustration, but it's, you know, dad's at home and he's seeing all this stuff, and, you know, I'm really worried about my daughter seeing the fighting in that. You know, she wakes up sometimes when my wife's arguing, and, you know.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you called. I really, really am, because all of you need some help, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a situation, Sean, where, you know, I mean, my first question is, what is it that you're fighting about so much? Like, what is it that two of you are fighting about?
Finances.
Finances? Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot about money?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I've been born in Canada. My wife's from Trinidad.
Right.
Okay. So she has a different outlook on money than I do. With me, I'm pretty free and easy with it. With her, it's save, save, save. Pinch, 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 and there's no, how do you say, there's no looseness with it.
Right.
So it's a lot of arguments about finances on top that I'm not working.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Only because, you know, I don't know, when you talk about having a 16-month-old baby and you already see that you have this particular problem, and you're asking, what are the future effects of your fighting? Well, the future effects of your fighting are not good, so stop fighting. Like, let's get to the stop fighting part. I think you want to use some of this to say, well, should we do something about the fighting because she's 16 months, and what are the effects going to be when she's 16 years of age? And I'm saying, well, I don't think you should be fighting by that. I think you should be looking after the problem now. If you know you're fighting a lot, then go look after fighting and get onto it. Get going with it. If you're fighting about finances, then don't go to a counseling or a therapeutic setting that costs money. Find something that's either covered by OHIP, or go to a family service association and tell them you can't afford to pay for counseling. One of the things you're fighting about is money. But let's get going. Let's get going. You know, I would say, I don't think anybody can specifically tell you what the effects are up till 16 months, for example, except that if your daughter's waking up from the fights, then you're fighting a lot. Yes. And it's time to do something about it. And I mean, we could tell you what the effects are when she's 16 years of age, and it's not good. And if it's 16 years of fighting, it's really not good. Either it could be a child who's so enmeshed in the relationship that that's all they're involved in is keeping mom and dad from fighting, or it could be a kid who says goodbye and sort of hits the streets. I mean, we know all those directions, so let's be much more preventative here. If a 16-month-old child, let's go. Like, let's get some help with it. And I would start, like, right away, and I would make the focus fighting. That there's a measurable component here, and that is we're going to go to counseling, and the measurable piece is, do we fight less? If we fight 4 times a week, could we start fighting 3 times, and then 2 times, and then once, and then only when necessary? So you've got something that you see as a problem. It's time to go out and really hammer away at it. I really advocate that. Yeah. This could be what's considered preventative, which is not a bad idea.
And the first step was calling here, which is
for sure,
great.
For sure. Go for it.
870-7716, our phone number. If you want to call, you've got a situation, you need some advice, give us a call right now. We'll be back right after this.
Good morning, I'm Dwight Drummond at the City Pulse assignment desk with a look ahead to City Pulse at noon. Ben Chin leads our live coverage. He'll have the latest from the Paul Bernardo trial for you. After 5 days of questioning, Bernardo's testimony is expected to end. Court observers now believe a verdict could be in a couple of weeks. With the Bernardo trial, Pam Sealer will be looking at another angle for you. We'll have this and much more at noon. I'll see you then.
To demonstrate the uniqueness of a Beauty Rest mattress by Simmons, we're dropping the ball on the competition, that is. Almost every other mattress made relies on springs that are linked. So when the person next to you moves, you get disturbed. But only Beauty Rest uses the unique contour flex with individually pocketed coils to help assure you an undisturbed night's sleep, no matter what's rolling around next to you. Beauty Rest by Simmons, the do not disturb mattress.
Hey, look, it's the first ever CD of 1050 Jump Chart Classics. 19 original hits, original stars. You get 3 Dog Night, The Lovin' Spoonful, and The Beach Boys. You'll also get Roy Orbison, Steppenwolf, and Casey and the Sunshine Band. Plus many, many more. It's the 1050 Jump Chart Classics, available wherever they sell quality music. Get your copy at the Bay.
Crazy Lee's, the place to go for back-to-school value. Anytime is legging time, at school or just chilling. Quality cotton and lycra knit in black and fashion colors, all only $9.99. 100% natural cotton rib sweaters, choice of solids or stripes, crew neck, mock neck, and cardigan styles, only $16.99. Crazy Lee's, always the latest fashions, always the lowest price. Stores throughout Ontario.
It's not easy being big. That's why you should try new Pull-Ups training pants. The label shows front from back, so kids learn how pull-ups go on. And the new awareness liners designed to let kids know when to take them off. Knowing when, learning how. That's the Pull-Ups way to train.
Mommy, wow! I'm a big kid now.
Welcome back to Cityline. Therapist Joe Rich is with us today. 870-7716 if you want to give us a call. Susan's right here, and your question is what?
How do you deal with a mate who's very strong and overbearing?
Okay.
And you just kind of want to get along, but you just can't seem to get along. There's always friction.
Has it been going on for a long time, or?
Yeah, quite a few years now. Yeah.
And you've had enough.
Well, I'm getting to that point. Yeah.
So what do you do in a situation like that? It maybe didn't bother you at first and becomes routine, and then finally you just kind of go, this is not comfortable at all.
Well, I think part of it is you do often get into patterns in relationships where if a mate is overbearing, then you find yourself placating or giving in or operating within that relationship in a very particular way. So this could be a long-term pattern. You could be in a relationship with an overbearing mate for a very long period of time and just operate in the same way, either keeping things even or not addressing everything or letting things go. But sooner or later, this erodes. I mean, sooner or later, it wears thin, and you have to start thinking about what you want to do about it. Some people can do that their whole life. Some people reach a point where they're just not prepared to continue doing it. And often it's explosive. Often the confrontation can be explosive because you want to create change, and that change can be very difficult. Not just for you, but for the mate. You know, sometimes you're talking about the way a person behaves. Sometimes you're talking about a personality trait.
Yes.
So, you know, you've got to be cautious. If this is the person's personality, you've got to be cautious that you buy into spending time together and really working it through. It's not just a pattern, but a personality trait. It can be very difficult.
Okay. Ruth is where? Hi, how are you? Go ahead.
What do you think makes a good relationship last?
Joe?
Hi, Ruth.
Joe, you're happily married. How do you do it? Be a therapist.
What do I think makes a good relationship last? How old are you, Ruth?
15.
15. That's an excellent question. An excellent question. I think, you know, probably the answers that everybody gives you are the answers. Honesty, sense of commitment, intimacy, sense of caring, closeness. For me, very strong when I look at it is the sense of acceptance, that these two people are willing to accept each other. Good days, bad days, you know, really work around stuff so that you don't have to be like this to be married and have a good marriage, but you have to be accepting to some degree. Because one of the things about intimacy, closeness, marriage is that you wind up in a lot of sort of intimate spaces where you have to accept each other as well as understand each other. So, and I believe that people, as you know, if you watch the show, you know that I think that people fight and argue and all that stuff. I think that a relationship can also be a very busy place. But I think those are the things that make a relationship last.
And taking the time out after you have kids, too, for one another, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Paying attention to that as you go along.
Yeah, paying attention to the relationship. Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else to add to that? She can't accept that. The occasional Hallmark card would be nice as well. We're going to take a break. We'll be at flowers, chocolate. So let's go on. Keep going. We're going to commercial break. Yeah, that would be nice. A strip would be good.
Introducing the all-new Wake Up and Reminder service, I'm Up. The 24-hour service available anywhere, anytime in Canada. I'm Up provides you a guaranteed wake-up call or reminder.
so you won't sleep through that important business meeting or forget that special someone's special day. Call 1-900-451-5255. A service charge of only $3 will be applied directly to your phone bill. So call I'm Up and forget about it. We won't.
What do kids want?
We want adventure.
Who's for busting out of here?
We want fun. We want the Pebble and the Penguin.
Goodness glaciers!
The Pebble and the Penguin, the rollicking animated adventure about a heroic penguin's quest for true love and friendship.
We want to see it again.
Now on video, The Pebble and the Penguin. Buy it for your family today. Your family could win a trip to SeaWorld. Enter the Name a Penguin sweepstakes today.
Announcing the Toyota Sharpest Deals Super Sale. 3 days only this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Hundreds of new Toyotas at Toyota headquarters, Highway 401 at Markham Road. Special windshield pricing for the year's sharpest deals. On-the-spot appraisals and special low, no-limit financing starting from 4.9%. The Toyota Sharpest Deals Super Sale. This Thursday and Friday noon to 9 and Saturday 9 to 9. Be there. Presented by Toronto's sharpest Toyota dealers.
You know, no matter what stage in life you're at, there are some basic health needs that OHIP, as good as it is, just can't cover. That's why Liberty Health created the Group of Your Own plan to give all of us group protection without the group. The fact is, routine expenses not covered by OHIP can cost the average family $2,000 a year. Makes Liberty Health a good investment in anybody's book.
For information, call 1-800-331-4866. Liberty Health, Ontario's supplementary health specialist.
Welcome back to Cityline. Therapist Joe Rich with us today, and Diane is on the phone. Hello, Diane.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Listen, I'll just give some background initially.
Okay.
I've been living with someone for 2 years, and it just seems that there's certain behaviors that I see happening, and you always tell yourself, well, the next time that happens, then I'm going to go, and then you really don't, and then I sort of really get angry with myself that I can't believe I'm letting it happen.
Yes. Can you give me an example of what has happened recently?
Okay. Well, I guess it's a lot of verbal. I mean, there was just, a small argument will turn into a lot of, like, cursing and swearing, and I used to always tell myself, listen, I don't deserve that sort of, someone to talk to me like that. And then, you get really upset, and you might leave for a couple of hours, and then it's all the apologies afterwards. I'm sorry, I'll never do that again, but it happens again.
Yeah.
And also things like, there's plans made, and he'll come home and he'll say, well, plans change, and he'll make his own plans and then leave again, and you're sort of stuck again.
Yeah. This is not fun.
No.
No.
It's not fun, and it's, without saying too much, it's not, I feel it's sort of abusive verbally and very unfair. It's just, I always tell myself, well, if it happens one more time, I'm going to move out.
Have you told him this when you're not arguing?
Yeah, I have. And he always says, well, I'm going to treat you better, and you're right, and I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. So I tell myself inside, well, next time it happens, then I'm just going to have to do this.
Yeah.
And then I have no one to talk to, because if you do talk to friends or family, they'll say, well, listen, you shouldn't be there.
And that's not the answer that you want?
No.
Because you love this person?
Yes.
Does he love you a lot?
I think so. See, when times are good, they're pretty good, but it's just, I think it's happening, and it's getting worse and worse, and I feel that I let it happen. Like, I really don't do anything about it.
You don't think that, are you saying that you think that you make it happen?
Not make it happen, but just, I know that because I'm always here, and because I'm not, there's really no consequence to what's going on, I feel like it's just continuously getting worse.
Well, then, if you feel that way, then it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that you really called, Diane, because that's the tough situation. And I'm glad Joe's here.
The point, do you feel you make it happen, is different than do you participate in it happening.
Yeah.
And this is, Diane, this is what we look at as supporting the problem. So what happens is we get to the point where you leave for a few hours and you think, this is what I told myself I was going to do, this is a good thing to do, and that looks like you're trying to solve the problem, and then there's this position where you come back home and he says, gee, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. And you begin to support the problem. This all becomes part of one big problem.
Right.
The coming and the going has something to do with the abuse. And in the end, Diane says she's mad at herself for coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is one big pattern, but you have to make a break at some point. And I think for a lot of women, the break is when they're feeling this way, when they're, I'm going to say being abused because I see this as abusive.
Yeah.
But when they feel that they're being abused and they say, that's it, I'm leaving. But Marilyn asked you if you ever talked to him on a good day about this. And the question is, do you ever think about leaving on a good day? Do you ever think about really blowing the pattern right up and saying, you know what, this happened 2 weeks ago and I just don't feel like doing it again?
Yeah,
because it's a circle and you can get off it at a whole bunch of places.
Because she knows it's going to happen again.
That's right, but she doesn't seem to be able to get off in the place that she always tries to get off.
Yeah.
So this point over here, you think, well, you know, he did it to me today, and you go out, and you know the next part on the circle is you come back.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying, well, why don't you try getting off over here?
Yeah.
Why don't you just calmly say, I know this is going to happen again. You haven't done anything different since the last 10 times. I haven't done anything different since the last 10 times. Chances are this is coming around again, so I'm just going to put a stop to it happening again. So instead of being reactive, to actually pull out by calling us, but also by talking to a professional, pull out, see what the pattern is, and see all the choices that you have within it. And if you love this person, then you don't have to leave in the middle of the screaming and yelling. And you don't have to leave at all necessarily, but you have to change the pattern so that the end of this story isn't you're mad at yourself. Because you're mad at yourself for being there. That's a real red flag that this is not a good situation.
It's going to get worse before it gets
And I think a lot of women seek out the help of other women, friends, support groups. They look towards other women where they can find a place to find some understanding in all of this. Friends and family are not necessarily the answer, although they can be a good support system. If you come up with a plan, you can engage them in helping you with your plan.
That's right.
But asking them what to do...
They're going to tell you what to do, and that's to leave.
Not what you're looking for. So you got to break this pattern, and maybe the relationship will get better, or maybe you'll have to face that this isn't a relationship that's going to change.
Also, you're saying that she could leave, move out of, let's say, their apartment, their living quarters, go someplace else, still continue the relationship, and work on it from that position.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
He's not saying you have to leave the, okay.
No, I'm saying break this pattern somewhere, and part of the pattern is going off and coming back.
Okay.
That's not separate, that's actually part of it.
Right.
So we got to break it somewhere. The place most people go to break it is they say, if this happens one more time, I'm leaving, and then they realize that's sounding familiar too.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've just woven it into the pattern. So I'm saying just break the pattern somewhere where you can sort of get out of it and have a look at it. It doesn't have to be when you're angry.
It truly is amazing how human beings are, we all are, that we don't even know that we're in a pattern. And
and when we listen, it's clear.
It's very clear, yeah. We do have to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
One, two, three, up in the bathtub.
Oh, how about this for Bunny? Yours has a better lemon smell.
Smells like lemons. Bunny loves lemons.
With Tide Lemon, you get the best lemon clean and a lemon scent that more people prefer over the leading lemon brand.
Bunny, you must cook it.
You get to squeeze more lemon with Tide.
You got a squeeze for me?
You know, I never realized if you're not on a group health plan, just how vulnerable you might be. It doesn't matter if you're retired or starting out, having a baby or starting your own business. There are some basic health needs that OHIP, as good as it is, just can't cover. That's why Liberty Health created the Group of Your Own plan to cover things like prescription drugs, the dentist, eyeglasses, to give all of us group protection without the group. If OHIP doesn't pay for it, the Group of Your Own plan from Liberty Health probably does. So do you really need it? Well, the fact is, the basics not covered by OHIP can cost the average family $2,000 a year. $2,000 a year, and that's just routine expenses. Makes Liberty Health a good investment in anybody's book.
For information, call 1-800-754-8975. Liberty Health, Ontario's supplementary health specialist.
Today, it's not a question of can you afford to have supplementary health insurance.
Mom.
Can you afford not to?
Crazy Lee's, the place to go for back-to-school value. Jeanworks, Canadian-made denim jeans, 14-ounce heavy denim, in blue, black, or garment dye colors, sturdy stitching, and triple stone wash soft. Choose from 10 fabulous styles, every pair designed to fit you perfectly, and every pair just $22.99. Crazy Lee's, always the latest fashions, always the lowest price. Stores throughout Ontario.
He was 8 weeks old. That's little Robbie. Right, Mom? Little Robbie. How cute. Oh, boy. If you'd like to be a part of our Cityline audience, please call area code 416-591-5757 and ask for audience reservations. And after the show today, we're drawing for passes to visit the CNE. It runs through till September the 4th. Right now, Samantha's on the phone. Hello there.
Good morning.
Hi. Go
ahead. Hi. Oh, well, I'm okay, but I have a question, and that is, I'm having a mother-in-law problem. And I've been married for 5 years to my husband, and over those 5 years, we've gone into battles where I've always said, no, it's not worth fighting about. I'll apologize when I really shouldn't have had to. But
with your husband or your mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law.
Okay.
And
because you just want to be peaceful, right?
Big time, yeah.
Yeah.
And just when she's in a bad mood, I'll get the wrath of it. That's how I feel. And
give me a situation though, Samantha. What was the last one?
Well, it's just so ridiculous. It was just where I had mentioned something in passing, and she said, "I resent the fact that you're putting my friend down." And I said, "I didn't put your friend down. I have no idea what you're talking about." And to put a little bit more light on the situation, it's when she has a couple of drinks this happens.
Okay.
And I'm tired of it. I've got 2 little kids.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see, first of all, her behaving like that, and secondly, I don't want her drinking in front of them. Like they're babies, but nevertheless.
Nevertheless is right. Does she live with you?
Pardon me?
Does she live with you?
No, she doesn't. But she lives around the corner from us, so we do see her quite often. So just a few weeks ago, we had one of these arguments, and he basically said that I had no right speaking to her like that. Who the hell do I think I am? Holier than thou. And said like a bunch of rotten things about me. And I said, that's enough. I'm not taking it anymore.
Right.
And it's really affecting my husband. My husband lost his dad no more than 6 months ago. And he took the death pretty bad, and he's taking this pretty bad. Like he said, I've lost one parent, and it's killing him to see us fight like this. But it's not even where we're fighting. It's just, I'm tired. I'm really tired. I've got 2 kids. I've got my own family. I've got my own problems. I don't need her on my back.
I know.
And it's hard. But she doesn't see any of this.
Well, I'm very glad that you've talked to your husband about that, because sometimes when people call with situations somewhat like this, I say, what does your husband have to say about his mother? And is your husband aware of her drinking?
Yes. She always calls when she's had a couple, and then remembers nothing about the conversation the next day.
Okay, I'm glad you called, because Joe's right here. There's a couple of things
There's
coming.
a major question here still.
Yeah.
You and your husband talked about his mother's drinking.
Yes. And he's talked to her about it.
Has he talked to you about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And the conversation between the 2 of them didn't go very well.
Okay.
About her drinking.
Okay.
At all. Like, it didn't go well at all.
See, the drinking, whether it is or not, certainly in listening, the drinking is a major variable here.
Big.
That if she's not going to conquer the drinking stuff and stop drinking or whatever it may be that's going on. But I think what you're telling us is that when she starts these arguments and being abusive, she's been drinking. That she's been drinking too much. Is that right?
Yeah, it's either she's been drinking or the next day when she's hungover, she'll come after me.
Well, then you just have to do what makes sense. Limit contact. Encourage him if he wants to have contact with his mother, with the children. He can walk them over there and have a really nice time. It'd be a good break for you. And just begin to pull out quietly. I wouldn't fight my way out of this. I would just quietly begin to pull out, because you're not going to win. If this is what it's all about and she's taking it out on you, then if she's not going to stop drinking, then I think whatever you do, I can't give you any good advice except to quietly just begin to pull out of the relationship. If your husband wants to have a relationship separate and spend more time with his mother, then maybe he'll have to, and just minimize the contact. You're not in a position to say, I won't see her anymore at all.
What do you say, though? What does she say to her husband? I've really thought about this. I love you very much. Here's something that I've decided to do. Or do you just quietly, like you say,
well, her husband knows, or she says, I've spoken to my husband, he's spoken to his mother, like everything's out on the table. We're not going to fight our way out of this. For this couple to continue fighting because his mother drinks is a really out of control state. So the variables are, she drinks, she's not nice to her, he would like to still see his mother, so let's piece it together quietly. Not with a million series of discussions, but where she says on Sunday, why don't you take the kids over for a couple hours and I'll use the time to do X. And he just says, okay, and he goes over to her house, and she doesn't come to their house as often, and try and make it workable.
Does he pick fights, wait a minute, does she pick fights with her son?
No,
too?
me.
Hello?
It's me. It's not her son. It's
Okay,
me.
no, the reason why I'm asking is because when that does happen, I just want to know when he takes the kids over, and she's had a couple of drinks the night before or whatever, and she's hung over the next day.
Oh, it would be him then.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's a no-win situation, but I don't know what to do right for now. Do I call her and say, look, we don't see eye to eye for...
No. The other thing is, one concern that you brought up earlier, too, when we began this conversation, was you were worried about the children, even though they're babies. You know, what's going to happen then, too? You know, when and I'm going to throw this to you.
Right.
He then goes over with the kids for a couple of hours, and she's abusive to the father. Hopefully, he'll say, and make up his own mind about it. But
it sounds like he will. It sounds like they're on board with that.
Okay.
So he'll have to manage that when he goes over. And if he comes home and he says, you know, my mother did this and my mother did that, then she's going to have to say, I don't think that's appropriate behavior in front of the children. Do you? And they're going to have to figure out what to do with it. But you see, there's a powerless state here that has to be acknowledged, and that is this woman drinks, and it's her problem. And they can think of a million solutions, but it still comes back to, if she decides to drink and she wants to take it out on her daughter-in-law, it seems quite relentless. So everybody's got to begin to work around this in some particular way. So when she says, should I call my mother-in-law, tell her, both you and I say, no, because you're still solving the wrong problem. So it's just a Band-Aid, and Band-Aids aren't working. So just quietly start to work with the situation in a way that makes sense.
What is really refreshing about this situation is that you did talk to your husband about it. It's a united front up to this point, because you and I have had many conversations with other people talking about my mother-in-law and my father-in-law or whatever, and I do want to tell them about this, and this, but remember, you have a relationship with your mate that you have to nurture and cherish, and that's their parents that you're talking about. So sometimes, you know, you have to be united front.
And you have to you have to think about your own relationship. He just lost a parent 6 months ago. And you and I aren't talking about that.
Just
and
lost
I'm not including
exactly.
She just lost a husband. He just lost a parent. I'm paying a lot of attention to that, even though we're not talking a lot about it. And I'm saying, let's be a lot quieter and a little more gentle here about just looking for a way to work with the situation. And then you never know what's going to happen. But right now, this wouldn't be a time for high confrontation where everybody's screaming, if you're going to drink, we're not going to see you. And you know, this wouldn't be a time in the same way that the husband says, I've lost a father, the woman has also lost a husband.
Joe Rich, thank you very, very much. Thanks for everybody calling in today. Have a great day, everyone. Tomorrow it's Health and Family Day. See you then. Bye-bye.
Tonight, a formerly upright British barrister literally hangs out with two con men. Actually, that's incorrect. It's con people. This is 1995. As John Cleese stars with Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline in the hilarious comedy A Fish Called Wanda. 9 tonight on City's Great Movies.